And welcome in to Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Live stream version. Post game. Boston Bruins lose in the third period after leading 2-1. They lose 3-2 to the New York Rangers. This coming after the Bruins win the night before over the Minnesota Wild in a 3-0 game that was really one of their better efforts of the season. Welcome into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, as always, presented by our lead-in pod sponsor, Fazenda Coffee Roasters. FazendaCoffee.com/Morning Brew, the place where you want to go to check out all things Fazenda and also Morning Brew, whether it's the Morning Brew blend, the Morning Brew baseball hats, or the Morning Brew Clean Canteen travel mug. That's where you'll find everything. You'll also find great coffee. That's what Fazenda is all about, whether you're retail or wholesale. They got you covered. Check out FazendaCoffee.com. Hi, Razor. That was, for a while, kind of enjoyable. On the couch, I had Cooper next to me, kind of, gently snoring. Jake kind of watching the game and everything. Cold night here in town. Watching a game where for a while it was sleepy. Holy smokes, was it a sleepy game? And the Bruins woke up only to lose in the third period. Are you disappointed? Or what are you? What adjective are you going to use for that game?
Well, I was excited that they made it so sleepy. That was great. The only way the Bruins were winning this game was to exactly how they had, and then dodge bullets in the third period, which unfortunately they didn't do. Special team. The fact that it was a shorthanded goal that wins, that just stinks. But again, that was do or die for the Rangers.
Eighth shorthanded goal this year, partner.
Yeah,
8.
Yeah.
But tied for the league lead.
Yeah,
or second, I believe. My bad.
So yeah.
I'm frustrated.
Again, that was do or go. Do or die for the Rangers. So
I just feel that. I mean, I thought they had to get 3 out of 4 points heading into this Four Nations break to really feel like they're right there. They're still going to be right there, even if they win on Saturday over Vegas, which is the last game before break. I don't know. I'm just starting to look at it, man, and I see so many teams there. And I know you're my
hockey player with 27 games left, and he's 2 points out of the playoffs that he's done. How'd that go?
I understand that. No, I get that, but I feel like it's more than 2 points because of the games in hand. I understand you have to win those games in hand, but it's still you got to end up. I don't know. I felt like I just feel like the signs are there at times saying they're trying. I thought they tried hard, even though it was a sleepy game. And I'm with you. They had to do that for a while. It was not rope-a-dope, but you know what? They got through it. They got their legs going. They found it. They found rhythm in that second period. But they have to work. Razor, they got to work so hard to score. So hard to score right now. The margin for error is minimal. And I think that's the thing. And I think the margin for error for them as well, making the playoffs with literally every single point they don't get becomes harder and harder. I mean, to me, this has got to be at least a 625, 650 win percent team down the stretch of the season, I think, if they're going to get in.
Yeah, well, yeah, like 15, yeah. But that's someone's going to do it. Someone's going to do it.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be Columbus. I'm not, so you have 5 teams in the Atlantic, and again, it's you get Lindholm back, and listen, they played great last night. So if we were talking last night, they played good. Unbelievable last night. Don't forget they beat the Rangers on Saturday 6-3 too. We didn't talk then too. So it's not like
we don't
talk. Every time I have to defend it because they won 2 in a row and then they lose this game, and I have to sit here at 9:30 and say, well, they're not that bad because they actually did win. They're 666 in their last 3. How about that? So there's.
That's why I love you, buddy. It's
I know. It's just like it's so aggravating that I haven't got to.
We have not done many brews lately.
Not since Christmas.
Victories.
We have not, very few. Very
Speaking
few.
of Christmas, the Christmas break, I was thinking about this last night. I think I said it on postgame on Nesson. The Bruins really went into Christmas break feeling really good about themselves, right? It's
Mhm.
post-Christmas, as you just mentioned, that
Yeah.
they didn't. And I was hoping that the Bruins could get, again, 3 out of 4 between the Rangers game and Vegas to go into the break feeling like really damn good and then come out of the break, which was going to be longer than the 3 days they had at Christmas, much longer, obviously. What are we talking, 12 days? And have different result, be refreshed, have Lindholm back, everything we want to see. But no, not on this one. But it is tough. Like, listen, we do, and we get into the weeds sometimes, and maybe not maybe me more than you. I get it.
Well, no,
Um,
no, yeah, yeah.
I
We're
do.
all in the weeds. There's, it's just, um, geez, I'm just pulling up the schedule because I realize 1, 2, 3, 4. Like there's 7 games, 7. Like everyone clamoring for the deadline, right? There's 7 games. That's a lot of points after this break to the deadline. That's like really where you're gonna know, like how they come out of this break in those 7 games. I was thinking I'd been continually thinking that it was 3 or 4. This 7 games. So again, to the point of okay, win Saturday, right? Find a way, get 2 points Saturday, and then go away and come back and rattle wins off. There's 7 games before the deadline. So I know we're going to touch on Don talking tonight, but like it's still really hard for him to know which way to go when you're looking at 8 games. It is a long time between now and the deadline.
I would agree with the, and I'm also going to disagree, saying I think that I don't really know if the choices are major because he's not giving up a first for this
Oh
team.
yeah, yeah. No,
there's not a
it's
big
a
flex
business
coming.
deadline.
That's all. Like, I mean, to me, it's do I tweak it or do I make something happen for the future? Either way, he ain't giving up much.
No.
Either way, we know
Yeah.
like that's a given right now. If this team is going to do anything, big if, but if they're going to do anything, it's going to be with 97% of the roster that they have right now.
Yeah.
That's my take. And if they I'll use that 7 game, add the 8th game in with Vegas. I'm just going to be hypothetical here, partner. They go 500 in that time, and they are what they are. And if they're adding anybody, it's because somebody's dumping salary, and they're getting back as a 4th round pick. Again, hypothetically speaking.
Yeah.
And the Bruins may even move 1, 2, 3 guys that they feel they're not going to sign, or at least try to move and do that. And then they'll say, hey, we're going to ride it. We'll roll the dice with what we got because this is the team that we thought would bring it anyway, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, if they go, I don't know, maybe 6-2, 7, 6-1-1 or something like that, maybe they'd add a little more. They're still not adding though. They're not giving up a first rounder.
No, 100%. And that's I see it the exact same way. They might, if anything, they find somebody, they get rid of someone that they're not going to sign, that they've decided over the break with all the conversations we wanted to, but we couldn't get it to a deal. So we're going to move on and trade a 4th round pick, and then trade that 4th round pick for somebody in a similar situation somewhere else as a quote unquote kind of rental, not a full blown,
you only
Mikko
have
Rantanen rental,
right.
Like a guy who maybe this guy will fit into our lineup. Maybe we could sign him, but we'll at least, he at least fills the spot that we just lost from getting rid of this guy, like that kind of business deal. That's how I see it as well.
You already brought up Don Sweeney, so we might as well just get to it. He was on the show, on the TNT show, talking there. I mean, he talked primarily, about 4 nations. I mean, that's what it was. Was there 1 or 2 questions?
Well, I'm sure that was part of the agreement, right?
I would think so. But yet, we're so close to it. We kind of, again, we just talked about what we think they are going to do, no matter what. So didn't really learn anything more there. I mean, when it's all said and done, this team, again, I don't even know how much of a decision they're going to make for them. I guess I've brought up if they go 500 or like 6-1-1, if they go 2-6, they may even sell more. They may even sell more than there. So I guess this team will tell him. But again, I don't think there's that big of a decision left anymore, Razor. I think it's more or less kind of down the middle, little hedge here or there, little trim off the top, so to speak. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly. And the cap's going up, and we'll get to the summer and do more business. But yeah, and the reality is, and it's probably going to look pretty similar to that around the entire league. The couple of those big deals happened. I don't think that's a precursor. I think that's getting those ones got out of the way a little bit earlier than everyone else. I can imagine.
So I was all prepared, I guess, wishful thinking to talk about, and I was kind of surprised that I was going to be talking about the importance of a save made on Matt Rempe on a breakaway
Right.
as the key moment
The Rempire
of the game. And then it just turned. And I mean, it ends up being, I mean, the power play looked awful again tonight. It just did. The entries in the first period, they were too slow. And they were actually pretty damn good against Minnesota. Now, Minnesota had the 24th or 25th ranked PK versus the Rangers. Much better. Number 8, I believe, in the league? Much better. But the Rangers really had the book on the Bruins. They were aggressive as heck on them, both at the blue line and deep in the zone. But overall, it ends up being, in essence, a power play. The Trocheck goal ties it up. Then the shorthanded goal. To me, correct me if I'm wrong, and I was watching it pretty good. I was chatting with Vic and Jake a bit and everything, and maybe I missed Kreider's name. I felt like that was the first time of the night that I heard Chris Kreider's name scoring that shorty. Is that accurate in your
yeah,
take?
I think that's accurate, like his whole season, right? That he's got his 2 assists, and he hasn't really been in the mix, but he's opportunistic, and he's got a way, and that's like a perfect play for him. That's the play where he's got fresh legs and he's faster than everyone as it is. And when he's fresher, but there's not enough awareness from the Bruins there too. They were in between the shifts, and Maddie's got to get above there, knowing David and Brad are staying to try and change the game. I hate going back to it, but that's 37's career there. He's 6 feet up the ice more on that play because he knows. Right. Especially at the end of his career, that's where he was that safety valve, because he would have closed that out. He would have known where Kreider was. He would have known where everybody was on the ice. He would have understood it. He would have seen it 44 seconds, 5 seconds earlier, and he would have gained 20 feet of ice to be able to back up. And Maddie will learn that if he stays in the NHL, where he had to. Once Geekie loses that puck, he's got to go. He can't kind of wait around, and he did kind of wait around, and that ends up in the back of your net. So again, that's what's frustrating, because they should have got a point out of that one.
Yeah, and you bring up Matty Patra, 2 assists, 2 games in a row, the Ranger game and then the Minnesota game, and we're not going to really go hardcore through that mini game, but he was really good again. He was confident. He was strong on the stick, strong on the puck, making the smart plays, firm passes, but yet with a soft touch to him. Like, that's obviously his biggest strength is holding the puck, creating spaces. We've talked about ad nauseum on this show when he's been up, but also his vision, his placement. He puts pucks into spots for guys to do something with too. They're not hard passes to receive usually. That's another thing. But he had a pretty good first period. He had it, and they talked about it in the broadcast. In my notes, as I was taking a couple and watching the game, I'm like, Patra again, good. I mean, first period, he was better than a lot of other Bruins there. And it wasn't that he was bad as the game went on, but I do think he trailed off. I do. And you mentioned the play right there. So that's part of being a youngster. The good news is it feels like, at least in my eyes, that he's established himself. He really has. He's reestablished himself to where you're going to have the downturn. It's just the way it's going to be. But when you even talk to him, look at him physically, the old eye-to-eye type of thing to Razor, it just seems like a more mature player. And that's what a couple of months down in the American League seems to be able to do for him.
Yeah, it was nice to see him bounce out, because it was becoming a struggle, and then he gets a good couple of games and gets confidence from that. And that's really what buoys you, right? As a young player is you're going to go underwater. It's if you can get that confidence back sooner than later, you stay above the water a little bit longer the next time. And And again, everybody trailed off a little, tonight. It's a back-to-back. That's the, long night last night and the whole thing. That's the expectation of the back-to-backs. And you kind of need everything to go your way. So it really good for him. One more real good effort at home Saturday, kind of similar, where he gets a little reset. I'm curious if they have him go play games down in the minors. If they keep him and let him have his 8 days, it seems like a long time for him. That probably doesn't need to have the 9 days off. I don't know exactly what the rules are, but
the rules are this. I will tell you, it's a great. I want to lead it here. Let me tell you this. The rules are this. I checked in with another buddy of mine, executive with another team. Teams at the end of the night of their last game. So for the Bruins, it's Saturday.
Yeah.
That's when you have to make movement moves by that time. So I don't know if there's a 10 o'clock or midnight or whatever. I'm told by the end of day, that's when you have to make those decisions. So if you're going to send a player down, that's when they have to do it by.
Okay. So you can expect Callahan, Poitras, be interesting, even if they put Lowry down.
I was just about to say,
paper.
Do they do that?
Maybe as much money as they can.
I don't. It's funny. That's a question I didn't ask. If there's a cap savings or is it just dead cap? Then I don't know. I mean, I guess if you can send them down, you can accrue some space. But I will confirm that. Just for detail
how
purpose.
Long it is technically. Yeah. So all those things. But again, I think I would expect the younger, not necessarily Lowry, but Poitras and Callahan. I would think they want to keep those guys playing.
You cannot make trades during I call it the Four Nations freeze. You cannot make trades, and you can't move players up and down either. There's nowhere to do it. But if you're going to move them down, it has to be by the night of your last game.
Don't go crazy, everybody. If that happens, that's pretty expected. For young guys to keep playing.
After 2 games with 2 assists, just look at the numbers on this one. Matt Poitras had 14-22 of ice time against the Rangers, 4 of 6 in the faceoff circle. The Bruins were getting shellacked in the faceoff circle in the first period. I mean, 0 for 10 over the first 10, and then they started to come back. They actually finished at 45%, 25 wins, 31 losses. But man, they were getting absolutely crushed early on. Let's go back and just quickly go through this game, as we do like to do here on Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. And folks, we do really appreciate the ones who have joined us on the live stream. And again, this episode will be out as a full pod and on YouTube as well, coming up in the next morning. But the Bruins, they go down 1-0 at the 6:07 mark. It's Artemi Panarin who gets his 23rd goal of the season. It really was an awful lot, though, to do about JT Miller getting in on the forecheck, a locomotive freight train. He's playing with a ton of P&V right now. He's got the piss and vinegar going big time. It feels like this is somewhat the Rangers need. A lot of teams could use a guy like JT Miller. The question is short-term versus long-term. That's what it comes down to. Regardless, he gets in. He gets Carlo thinking a little bit, not handling the puck well. Panarin ends up getting a one-timer for his 23rd goal of the season, beating Jonas Korpisalo, who got the start in this game. So it's 1-0. At the end of one period. Shots ended up being 8-4 in favor of the Rangers in the first period. Bruins go into the second period, and it's, it kind of similar. It's getting better, though. But near the end of the first period, Poitras had the puck on a stick more, et cetera. The Bruins kind of start to find legs a bit. But, again, sleepy first period. I think everybody pretty much agreed on that one. Finally, at the 15:03 mark, David Pastrnak, with his 28th goal of the season, as he ends up making, I'm trying to get the assists again, as I've lost my game sheet on my computer. I'll get it up in a second there. Pastrnak with his 28th goal of the season. Sorry, here we go. Assist from Pavel Zacha and Charlie McAvoy. This one comes after a one face-off. McAvoy takes the shot from the left point. He had switched from the right side to the left side. And it was wide. It was high and it was wide. But you know what? It worked out perfectly as the Bruins regain it. Zacha gets it to Pastrnak. His shot from the right side at 15:03 ties the game up at 1. And then Elias Lindholm gets his 10th goal of the season. Lindholm's now, he's been scoring. And I say this, and I said this a couple of games ago where he had a goal and one assist, or what was it, 1 or 2? And you're like, oh, smokes, they didn't win the game. You got to take it. Like, Elias is scoring now, right? Like, we've been begging for this. And he's starting to score. So he scores here at 15:19, just 16 seconds later, from the right side, a shot that looked like it ticked off of Adam Fox, defenseman, and beats the goaltender Shesterkin short side. Marchand with a nice play. Zadorov also with an assist, but Marchand hunts the puck down, forecheck, really does a nice job pulling up, setting the play up to happen. Again, the shot comes from far on the right side, not off the wall, but just inside there a bit, and beat Shesterkin. So it's 2-1 Razor after 2, and you're not saying it's, oh, great, this is a win for sure, but you're thinking, holy smokes, like this wasn't rope-a-dope, because that rope-a-dope sounds like it was intentional. It was not intentional to do what they did, but they got through it, and they found energy, they found life, and I felt like they said, all right, we're as good, if not better than this Ranger team, even though they held us to just a couple of shots in the first. And here we go, guys. Now we just need a great third period, but 2-1 at the end of 2, you felt at least decent.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, we've seen, the New Jersey game where the game gets away from them there in the second period. We've seen that often, and that you were concerned a little bit about that. So the fact that they were, and again, to your point of the rope-a-dope and the stealing of a game, they weren't stealing the game, but they, that was what they were kind of just hanging around, and they had their 2 breaks go their way, and they got their goals at the point where okay, lock it down for 2. All we need to do is play a 20-minute game here and get through this, find a way. And even at 2-2, you're saying the same thing, like just get it to overtime, So at that point, yeah, I was feeling good in that they were slowing the game down enough that Rangers weren't going to be able to get going.
There is then a penalty called as we go into the third period. By the way, shots through 2, 14 for the Rangers, 10 for the Bruins. An absolutely crazy high-octane offensive game.
Yep.
Holy smokes. It's going to happen, though. And although, all kidding aside, this is really emblematic of what the Bruins have become this season. They're not getting a ton of shots regularly. I know, certain games they do. But on the other hand, man, it's just not. They're not generating offense regularly, especially on the power play regularly. But it's so. Anyways, they find themselves up 2-1. Then you get a power play for the Rangers. Let's talk about the Marchand penalty. They called it roughing on the goalie. It wasn't goalie interference. It was roughing on the goalie. Yep. 3:25 into the third period. I mean, to me, I know goalies are protected. I thought it was marginal as all heck. I do. I know Marchand's in the crease, though, and there is contact. I do think Shesterkin rolled well there. It wasn't a complete flop, but I do think he absolutely helped it. Mm-hmm. But the antennas are up, in my opinion, from all the officials. They know if they don't call, more than they're going to take more crap if they don't call something as iffy than if they do call it. At least that's my take from the league. How did you see it? I didn't love it. I didn't, but Marchand was in the crease, and I don't think he was brought in there by Borg. Was it Borgen or Cooley which I don't remember which player it was. Do you think it was pushed into him?
He might have got a nudge at the end, but he can't be that close at that point either. Like you just can't. You're Brad. You can't. You're not getting the benefits still. You're better now, but it's still, dicey. And I mean, I hate the call roughing the goalie. So it roughing the goalie is different than roughing the player. Like what? I hate that call. Like that drives me absolutely crazy. There shouldn't be a difference there. And that's where, again, he didn't get interfered. Like he didn't interfere the goalie. The puck wasn't anywhere near it. They were both kind of there. We've seen that play a lot not get called, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't surprise me, but it also, could have been overlooked as well.
Yeah, I thought that was it was, I mean, marginal at best. I did.
Or you can even it up too. When everyone dogpiles, you could also, if you really want.
Yeah, because Brad was saying that
I want to call the penalty, but I want to. It's really not so egregious that it shouldn't be a power play at this point. After all of that, I'll just take both. That they sometimes do that, but
and Marchand was saying that his helmet had been taken off, so it should be. I mean, you just have to be cognizant of where you are, though, on the ice. That's something too. You said it. I said it. All right, Bruins will go shorthanded. It ends up being a goal by Vinny Trocheck at 5:27. So it's a power play goal, but it is, and it's 2 seconds after. It's the second unit that gets on the ice for the Rangers, and it ends up being a really nice kind of slap pass, punch pass from Keandre Miller from the left point. I actually thought Johnny Brodzinski, the Rangers forward who had the puck on the right wall, did the best part of the play, getting it, didn't panic. He puts it cross ice back to Miller. That forced everybody to turn. And then Korpisalo included didn't pick up the player, Trocheck, coming off to the glove side. He ends up getting it on his forehand after a nice pass from Keandre Miller, puts it into the empty net, or the open net, I should say, ties it up at 2. And then you have the shorthanded goal as Rempe was called for a holding call. I mean, this guy's not getting a lot of breaks. It was another, I got kind of marginal. I mean, I saw the penalty on the replay. I did. So I'm like, okay, they called it. It was enough of a penalty. They can call it. But if they had let it go, it wouldn't have surprised me either. Regardless, Bruins go on the power play and not much at all. And at the end, and you already described what happened there, it ends up being Chris Kreider from the left side. Again, first time in the game, I remember Kreider's name being called the puck on his stick. Zibanejad from the pass. Zibanejad had the puck on the right side. It was a one-on-one, then it was a two-on-one, given the speed, the acceleration from Kreider getting up the ice. He corrals it far left side. I don't know if the width away from Korpisalo made it, even though it was a tougher angle for Kreider, it almost made it felt like it was longer for Korpisalo to go, and almost like he got off where he wanted to angle himself, Razor, on the push coming across. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it was unlucky from Korpisalo's point of view and Charlie McAvoy, because he read it really well. He made a really nice play and a really nice read on it. It just skidded. It didn't punch out. It kind of skid off McAvoy's stick or glove and went further away. So as a goaltender, you're coming across for an angle, and then it moves to Korpisalo's right further than where he was going. So he's going at the puck, and then the puck ends up going behind him because of the way that McAvoy broke up the play, and you just can't readjust. You would need that puck to go to the corner to reset and get body control, and you need it to hit you at that point. And Kreider is very good and tight. It wasn't going to hit him, but yeah, if Kreider gets a shot, if it goes directly to Kreider, he's certainly in position.
He's in better position
to get there. Yeah. He would have been in position there rather than being out of position because it hits McAvoy. So a little unlucky.
Jake even said he's watching it. He picked his head up from the computer doing some work. Always great. Very good parenting. Do your homework in front of the TV. Yeah. There's the hockey dad in me. Whatever.
If it's not the TV, it's the phone or the watch or the.
Oh my God! Isn't that the truth? Yeah. Yes. And he's like, well, look at that angle. And I said, yeah, but I said, first of all, it's a good play by Kreider. I'll give him credit, corralling it off the skate and stuff. But also, the angle, I said, actually may have made it harder for Korpisalo there.
Exactly.
Bruins don't get anything after that. They end up with 7 shots in the third for a game total of 17. 22 shots total for the Rangers in that game. Power plays for the Bruins, 0 for 3, and same thing for the New York Rangers. So they try to call a timeout late in the game. They don't end up really getting much going. I don't know. Again, I never felt like, I felt like against Minnesota the previous night, like they had much more flow. They had a lot of go. They really did. Now I know they're playing at home, and the Bruins are much better at home, but yet Minnesota Wild, best team on the road in the NHL, didn't have it as much in that game. But I just felt like, I felt like I was watching a different team at times tonight with the Bruins, and I think that's a common theme from this team, Razor. We literally don't know what to expect sometimes. Not sometimes, an awful lot with this team. And I think that's another concerning, is that the right word, or obvious factor in where this team is right now. They're just in that middle ground because of their inconsistency.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what the middle ground is in the NHL. The teams that, and again, you go through the standings, like the best team, it's 3-4 games. It's 1 game a month, right? It's 1 game a month. The difference between the best team and the middling team, the 8th place team or the 9th place team and the 1st place team in the league, is 1 game a month. And that's where they haven't completely figured out games like tonight, or keeping games like New Jersey close through the second period to have a chance to just sneak up on a team and get a point in the third period. That's what we've seen this team do over the last couple of years. And that's where that inconsistency comes in, because they just haven't been able to find that power play goal. that shorthanded, like it's the special teams at the end of the day too, right? It's a lot. So much of this is, and it's the third period again. They lost the special teams battle in a big way. This in the not just like tied it. They lost in a big way here in the third period tonight. And you could probably correlate most of these games like that to the special teams.
Yeah, this is an obvious comment they're going to have to address with personnel, perhaps with some coaching. It just has to be. The special teams have lost too many games for them.
Yeah,
it's too important in this league, game and over the course of an 82 game season. We know it. It has to be addressed.
The Hampus Lindholm too.
Personnel. I mean, yeah,
right.
He's going to be back. I get it.
No, I'm saying, but missing him for 40 plus games. I mean, or whatever it is, 30 plus games. That affects your special teams. It really does, folks. Like you can't. Hopefully, he gets a little more love and all these number 2 defensemen, because it would have been. He can slot in both ways. He was the first guy over the boards. He makes Carlo better. He does. And, especially in that, he's the first one over the boards in all of these games over the last couple of years on the PK, and then he can step in on PP too. So I'm not saying that I agree with you 100%. There's going to be, the coaching and the personnel will change even on top of Hampus. I'm just saying recently it's hard when you don't have that extra guy.
All right, let's recognize our sponsors. Then we got some fans that are listening or watching in, and we're going to get to some of their comments and questions, and then got a couple of other questions for you on this Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, this live stream. Graciano Construction, they are consistent. You know what? They are special. They are a special team. How's that for a very lame segue? But it's true. They are a special team of contractors. They are great people, and they do great stuff, serving Boston and the greater Metro West area. And as I always like to say, and they'll even go a little further outside of that if you're willing to talk with them. Graciano Construction is the contractor that will help you refresh and revitalize your space. They do it all, from small to big: porch projects, kitchens, bathrooms, painting, even garages. Nothing they can't do. Doug Graciano and his crew are respectful of what you want. They're respectful of your home. They make sure that you're always happy. Check out GracianoConstruction.com or call them at 508-330-7589. Speaking of being respectful, RTN Realty, they are respectful of all of your real estate needs. If you're looking to buy, sell, or lease a new place in Mass, Rhode Island, or New Hampshire, and it's getting to be that time, even though it's cold as hell out. I mean, it was cold. I know it was sunny today, and we're getting more crap weather. What is up with that, Razor? I mean, I keep saying we're almost at spring, but that's just wishful thinking, because we're really not. But spring means house sales and rentals. Reach out to RTN Realty. Chris Gentile and the staff of 16 agents and support people. They've got you covered for whatever you're looking to do. RTN Realty handles all type of real estate transactions. Chris has over 22 years and 2,500 transactions in the business. Reach out to Chris directly at 617-835-0845. That is his direct cell. Or C. Gentile at rtnrealty.com for a no-pressure consultation. The real estate market is ever-changing. You want somebody that you know you can trust and will listen to what you want to do. RTN Realty and Chris Gentile are just that. Apex Entertainment is 100,000 square feet of pure fun. Do you have a Apex Entertainment most entertaining moment of the game, Razor, for everybody here?
I think the Rempire, even though it didn't end up winning, I think that was exciting for me. Anytime you see Rempe on a breakaway, you're gonna stop and watch. And then the fact that Korpisalo made the fairly routine breakaway save that just went to his backhand. It's the goals were good. It was fun. They scored 2 in 16 seconds, but they weren't spectacular in any way whatsoever. So I guess I'll stick with Korpisalo.
I'm going to say I was entertained in the Minnesota game. First of all, Jeremy Swayman was outstanding in that game. Rock solid. I was entertained by your post-game interview, goalie love fest there. That was a good one. He was all smiles. Understandably so. I get that. Wonderful shutout. Great fun stuff too with Marc-Andre Fleury. All kidding aside, like we'd like the bus chops and all that. That's quite honestly, that's the best part of working together with you and Barry. We all love busting chops and having a good time. fun stuff. You asking about Fleury and the admiration everybody has. It's hard not to love the Flower. It
Oh
really,
my
I
God,
mean,
it's unbelievable.
so I was entertained
I
by
don't know how he
him.
does it.
I know he is special. I was entertained by Charlie McAvoy, and I know it was a 5-on-3 goal, but getting that goal and the shot mentality, and I'm hoping, and Charlie getting an assist against the Rangers. I'm just hoping that he comes back from this injury like he has now for a couple of games. He picks up some goals, he picks up some points. We talked on set on Nesson. We've talked here so much. They need him to be more. They need him to be bigger. They need him to be more physical. They need him to be more involved offensively. Hoping, really, hockey god hoping, that type of stuff, that this is where he's at. So I would say I was entertained by that in the previous game.
Perfect. Love it. Yeah. And listen, let's, there's an opportunity for him to come back from this tournament really dialed. He's going to benefit as much as anyone because he kind of already had his break with the injury, and now he gets to play against the big boys in his hometown with his father-in-law. He can get a lot out of this tournament, and he could come back. Again, if you want to look for hope, that's another situation that could really present itself well for the Bruins out of this break.
I'll get a little into the weeds here. I'll just ask your quick opinion on Michael Callahan. We've seen him for a couple of games now. Wearing the bubble still because of missing teeth. He's got 3 or 4. I told him yesterday, I said, you're going the full Pavelski. He's like, Joe Pavelski, Ryan Smith, all the guys that stood in front of the net. I don't know why it was the guys that stood in the front of the net that had their bottom teeth out, not their top. For some reason, must be where the puck hits them coming up, I guess, the tips and everything.
Angle, yep.
But Callahan as well, without all those bottom chiclets. I've liked the kid. I've liked his presence, his calmness. He's going to be boring as heck, and I mean that in the most complimentary way. When Hampus comes back, he'll probably be the guy to go back. Well, maybe not. Maybe he stays up over in Osterley. Maybe he does. But good for the kid. I've been impressed. The kid played at Roxbury Latin and in Providence College in 3.5 years with the P Bruins, and he's not the longest running guy in the American League to finally get a chance in the NHL, but he's paid his dues. And I think he's showing himself well, Razor.
I really like his game. I like all of those things you just said. I don't notice him very much. I noticed him in a good way tonight, a couple plays. I was like, oh, okay, he's still growing. He moves real well. He's got enough length, enough size that he can hang at this level, and with his skating ability. So, I'm assuming he can continue to grow his game and build his game, and he's been willing to do that for the last 3.5 years. He's a learner, so good on him. But I like his game. I would, of the guys that have been in and out of the lineup, he's at the top of my list so far.
Let's take a couple of comments and questions. I'm going to go through them, Razor. We'll just hit on them, and we'll run through. Let's see. We'll start at the top. Please address, lads. This is from Daniel G. Can you please address Kevin Weeks and Elliot Friedman both mentioning lately about a deal that would send Marshy, he says, to Edmonton at the deadline? Do you believe this could happen? He also says, great show. Keep it up. Daniel, thank you very much. Truthfully, I've had a nice day. I haven't really been on social media. So if this came out today that this could be happening, we've touched on it. You and I have touched on it. I don't want to see it, but I'm also going to be, I've said this. I mean, that every GM, and we'll talk about Don Sweeney, he's going to listen to anything that comes his way. Of course, a team like Edmonton would want a guy like that. He would be that Mark Recchi-like add to a lineup there, Razor, to put him into a different level. The depth for them, the leadership, the experience, everything. Could it happen? I guess. Will it happen? I mean, you're going to get a crap load back if that type of thing's going to happen. I don't know. I don't really see it. But to Razor's point, the next 8 games will decide for Don Sweeney and for the Bruins what's going to happen with a guy like that.
I don't know what the angle is for those guys and why that's come out now. Maybe it's to build Four Nation popularity. I'm not sure, but I'm not. I don't know. I don't see any scenario where 63 gets traded. So that's kind of where I'm landing. But of course, Edmonton would love to have him. I don't know how they get a contract under the cap and how they work through all what's coming back.
Right.
a first round pick. Oh, that'll be great at 31st
I was
overall.
going to say
Good
number
luck.
30.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
luck.
Number
So
30. You'd have to, though, to your point about the salary, though, you'd have to have something coming back. And so you'd have to have something, big coming back as well. That would be a depletion for them. But
correct.
anyways, yeah, I think Edmonton who wouldn't love to have a player like that? I
Yeah.
don't see that happening either. Daniel, though, thank you for the question. Tor says he looks forward to next year, or Tor says looks forward to next year when the PP might score. This point become a joke. Let's just admit it. How can it be so bad all year long? It hasn't been good. You can't sugarcoat it. It hasn't been good all year long. It's been bad because I think that the Bruins early on in the year, boy, I hate thinking all the way back, but you have to talk about it. They held on to the puck. They became very predictable. They force-fed Pastrnak, and then when that wasn't working, they were trying to do things that were so low percentage, Razor. So low percentage, and they weren't getting enough, especially I feel from up top or from the guys away from Pastrnak. He got stationary. McAvoy wasn't producing. Marchand wasn't scoring. I mean, you can go through the list. We thought the bumper would be a great spot for Lindholm. That wasn't happening. How could it be so bad? I just think the personnel on this power play never really gelled. It just never truly gelled in my take.
Yeah, no, it hasn't yet.
Yeah.
It's
I love you, buddy. You throws in the yet.
I don't know, man.
I know.
You got to play all like it's yeah, no, I think it's just a matter of, they didn't have, it goes all the way to like the training camp stuff and everything. Like they just didn't figure out what they're good at. And I don't know if they have yet either.
Robert asks, how does this team become so inconsistent with essentially the same, if not better roster than they had last year? It's funny when, Robert,
it's the special teams. It's the power play and it's a penalty kill. That's why.
Right. But it's essentially, it's not the same roster as last year. How many new guys did we say it ended up being?
Yeah,
that's the thing. And I'm not saying, Robert, you're wrong. I'm saying we all think it's similar. It's similar, but it sure as heck ain't the same. I mean, we thought it was better. We both admitted, I was bullish, said it, that this team we thought addressed certain needs that would help make it better, to be hopefully longer run in the playoffs. But this team, it hasn't felt at times cohesive to me since training camp. Something felt different. It wasn't a great camp. The Swayman thing, again, we can go. I don't want to go through a whole litany of all that stuff, but it just never felt truly in sync early on in this season, and it hasn't at times. A few times we've had spurts when Joe became head coach, Sacco became head coach. They had a long run. Antennas were up. Defensive awareness was there. It just hasn't been nearly enough the other time of this season, consistently enough, Razor.
Yeah, no, and again, it's that they haven't been able to bail themselves out with their special teams, and that's you can probably. I think a lot goes to that. A lot goes to some of the injuries again, and it goes back to trying to figure out what they are and incorporate more guys than you kind of think about into their system.
Yeah, a couple of more here. Amy Harriman, lack of secondary scoring is killing the team. Basically, the question is, what has happened to Brazeau? His play and playing time significantly dropped off. Absolutely right, Amy. Lately, it has. I felt like he had that stretch. I felt like he did have that stretch where he was regularly on the puck, around the net, scoring with tips, keeping pucks alive. Physical enough, right? He was physical enough there. I feel like his physical play has dropped off, which means his footwork has dropped off a bit. We got number 2 going. Somebody pointed out that we didn't have the Yano meter up going. I think we just got number 2. That's good. Yeah. Okay. That was all right. It's a good one.
It's controlled.
It's 10:30. We're almost done. But Brazeau has seemed to fallen out of favor. And he's was scratched, put to the fourth line. I got to pull up his time on ice in this game tonight, because if he played below 10 minutes again, if he did, as I pull it up quickly here, Brazeau 9:55, under 10 again. I think that's 4 of the last 5, 3 of the last 4 of the last 5 under 10 minutes. It's hard to get into a rhythm, very hard, especially for a guy who relies on puck touches. That's what he relies on. He's not a grinder who's going to crush you. He's not a guy who can bring energy, jitterbug out there. He is a field guy. As big as that's what he's about. And it's a hard call for a guy to only play under 10 minutes.
Yeah, and he's complimentary, right? He needs someone to get him the puck most of the time. Or he'll find it around the net, but the puck's got to get to the net for him to get the puck. He can't like go get it in a corner or go on, on a consistent. So no, he's just fallen a little bit out of favor, like you said, and not really found his groove in the lineup, and he can't really make his groove in the lineup.
Let's see. Here, Matt said, would you ever try and get Bertuzzi back before the deadline for some grit? Doesn't Bertuzzi have
makes so much
4
money.
years left on the contract too?
Yeah, no, yeah. He got the Sudbury Chicago deal.
Yeah, I agree. So no, I would agree. Not that much. I wouldn't do that. Bricktop feels like he says here, Razor, hey, keep mentioning Hampus, but it's been months. There should have been a depth plan to manage that. But there wasn't. I mean,
you can't. You
don't know how long.
It's like he's a good player. He's a really, really good player. There's not many of those guys kicking around on waiver wire or in the minors that you just have stored just in case. Like, he's just a different guy. He just is. It's like if you lost, again, you do lose injuries. Listen, I'm not saying that you got to fight through it. As Don said as much this afternoon, I'm just saying you don't have a contingency plan when you don't have McAvoy and Lindholm in your lineup. You don't have guys kicking around. It just
James has a question that I think all of us want to know. We've tried to tuck on a little bit. We'll get to it a little bit more here. Only one road win
I know
since the new year. What's wrong with this team being so good at home and then so bad on the road? It's very hard at times to explain that. It can't just be matchups. It can't be. They must. Part of it is they must thrive on the energy of TD Garden. They must. Yet now you say sometimes, and I remember, I would sometimes actually like going on the road more because it's like you against the world, and that was a great thing. Did you pick up the energy being a villain, so to speak, on the road? I mean, you're such a nice guy. You're never going to be a villain, but you know what I mean? Didn't you sometimes
at home just as much?
Well, hey, being a villain at home, it could be a good thing too.
Yeah, no, it's a weird thing. It's just sometimes it just kind of happens and you turn yourself into a road team somehow and it doesn't really make sense. There's teams better than Minnesota in the NHL, but so why are they their team's stronger? There's better forechecks, there's better but for whatever reason, Winnipeg feels great on the road and where their season lined up or how it started, it is like you said, it's really hard to put a finger on it. I think you go to special teams and goaltending that bail you out of certain games and certain situations, and you get on the road in different road trips too. But it's something, again, it goes to what the Bruins haven't been for a really long time, and they're not a good road team.
I will say, and we keep bringing this up, but it's worth mentioning. I can tell you, and you can speak to it even better, but I can tell you that when your power play is bad, it takes so much energy out of you. It goes because, we all know hockey's a passionate game. And I think you could say that about all sports. Hockey's unique in that, except maybe for soccer, unless I'm missing something, right? You don't do it in football and baseball and basketball where you take a guy off the court or off the field to play. Hockey's unique where you get that distinct opportunity. And when you don't succeed at not just creating, goals, but even good opportunities, and in fact, you get goals scored against you, it crushes you, man. It does. And no player will ever admit it, but they're human. The guys that are on the ice, it affects them. They start doubting what they're doing. The guys on the bench start looking, like, oh man, we're not going to score here. Oh, if we score, we're lucky. It's a whole different thing. and they have to get better at it. We've said that ad nauseum on this show, so we'll move past that. Let's see, anything else here? Matt brought up again. All right, Billy and Razor. If not Bertuzzi, who would you try and get? Then similar to that, I'm going to take the easy way out here, Matt. We will do another one of these shows. I'm not ready to pick up. I don't have a list of my players in front of me just yet for trade deadline stuff. I don't agree. I don't disagree at all, though, Matt, that they do need some more tenacity at times, and with some more speed to it. Razor guys that can get after it. I mean, who wouldn't like a JT Miller type of player? That physical presence, that type of speed, that type of power. Somebody that can win battles and I guess drag you into the fight type of stuff. That wouldn't be bad either. They've got a guy like Castellic who's willing to fight literally, but that fourth line, something we could talk about. We're not going to get into it right now. That has not been. They've had injuries there too, but they need more from that fourth line, like they had at least early in the season. All right. So that's going to wrap up the show. We got anything else you want to cover real quick? I am parched. I must have eaten something tonight that is absolutely killing me. I've gone through 2 bottles of water right now.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a long night. No question about it. It's time to shut it down. Only 2 yawns on the yawn-o-meter. So
pretty good.
Thank you to that. I'm glad we're done. Razor's a good idea by you. We talked about which night we were going to do the show. You suggested you thought this would be the better one. We get 2 games in one we could talk about, and also we could go live right away. We talked about that earlier today. Folks, thanks for joining us here in Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. We really appreciate you staying with us. And we appreciate you guys being with us all the time. And thank you. So please know that we don't take it for granted. By the way, I want to say something real quick. Razor's wearing the Great Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor hat. I want to say thank you to Frank Rossi, who is a big Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor listener out of the Florida areas of Fireman down in West Palm Beach, right? Or North Palm Beach. Sorry, I hope I didn't offend West Palm Beach. But North Palm Beach brought hats, and we appreciate that very much. And he celebrated his 50th birthday at TD Garden the other day. Yeah, they had a big box.
Big win too. Remember, it was a big win the other day too.
It was a big win. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's almost like you're a little tiny kid again. The emotional roller coaster. Yeah, you felt great when you got the cookie, and then when all of a sudden your dog stole it from you, you were crying. I mean, that's exactly what it feels like when they win and lose. So all good. All right, folks. Razor, myself, and the man, the myth, the everything to Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. RC, the man behind the screen. We'll be back with you. Most likely, we will record another episode probably on Sunday the 9th. May try and get it done the night of the 8th. Might be tough given schedules, but we'll get one more in on the 9th. And then it will be the 4 Nations Freeze. Razor and I will also, though, be working at Beanpot on Monday, a big day there. And then Razor and I have a little time off before both of us will be doing some work with the 4 Nations while it's in Boston at TD Garden. So we'll do an episode or 2 as well in the meantime. But just know we'll have one more after the Bruins Vegas game, which is Saturday. Again, another national TV game, folks, not on Nesson. We will do a show either Saturday night or Sunday morning and get it out for you then. Until then, everybody, thank you for joining. Thanks for listening. And as always, enjoy that coffee.